This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, hello there, and thank you, Parker. I'm Jim Ervin, and this is Time Signatures. My guest today is another amazing musician who's been quietly, or maybe not so quietly, making her mark on the blues scene. Born in Phoenix, Arizona, where she cut her musical teeth on the church pew, and then moving to New York in 2012, where she got herself involved with the local blues scene. Our guest was already established, and she has established herself as part of the new generation of the blues. Her influences range from Bonnie Raitt to Chris Cornell and Aretha Franklin, and if you listen, you can hear those influences shining through her music. She is the winner of the 2024 Blues Revival Competition in Nashville, Tennessee, and the Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens division of the International Blues Challenge. And she's been on the road with the likes of Christone Kingfish Ingram and fellow bluesman Mike Zito. Oh, and by the way, she just released her debut album called Granite. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you all to singer, songwriter, and producer, and Gulf Coast Records artist, Kelli Baker. Kelli, welcome to Time Signatures.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to see you. It's nice to hear you. Where in the world are you right now? It looks like you're outdoors.
I'm at a Starbucks. At a Starbucks in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. We're traveling across the country right now, heading to the Southwest.
Oh, wow. So you're on tour.
A lot of ways to go. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. Now, trust me, we're going to talk about the new debut album here in a few, but I'd love to hear more about your story, Kelli, because there's so little out there. So let's dive in, and I'd love for you to tell me how you got your start in music.
Well, I got my start in music in the church choir as a very young child. My grandmother was in the choir, and my mother was in the choir, and we had to go every Sunday. And that's kind of how it started. But I was also very interested in not church music as a young kid.
Okay.
And was any opportunity for any kind of stage, as dorky as I could be, I was up for it. Yeah.
Now, in those early formative years, you noted Bonnie Raitt and Aretha Franklin among your influences back in the day. And clearly in your music, you can hear those sounds coming through. And yet you found a way to make your sound truly your own, haven't you?
I think so. People ask me that a lot, where it comes from. You know, I'm always, there's music that I very much enjoy. But I think that where I am as an artist is always in a state of evolution. So it's hard to say. It just kind of comes internally, and where it goes, I don't even know. It comes from somewhere. I don't know what it's doing, but yeah.
Well, now, as I was reading your information in preparation for our chat today, I was interested that some of your other musical influences included the late Chris Cornell. Talk about Chris's influence on your journey, would you, Kelli?
So, well, I love his voice, and I love a lot of grunge and rock. And when I started kind of getting back into music, I took a lot of time off. You know, I actually started Burden in My Hand by Soundgarden was one of the first songs I kind of picked up, was doing when I was going to open mics and jams. But I will say that when I was very young, I was in Seattle, where I did not live, with family, and Soundgarden had just released Super Unknown.
Oh, wow.
And they were touring in Seattle, where they were actually from, at this massive
Yeah.
city. I begged my mom, I said, please let me go to this thing. And she said, absolutely not. You're not going. You're too young. Well, I finally wore her down, but she had to sit in the stands and watch me. And I made my way up to the very, very front row, locked eyes with Chris Cornell. And I thought, oh, this is it. He knows I exist. And he just went on with his life, you know, but it was a moment that stuck out to me. I felt like when I saw that show, it was taking me from a child into more of my stepping into myself, you know, as you grow up and do things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, at what point did you decide that life as a musician was in the cards for you?
I always felt, I always felt like it was in the cards.
Okay.
But again, when I was young, I had a daughter very young, and I actually just got off the phone with her. And I thought that once I did that was it. Like I was a mom, and that's true. Once I was just having this conversation, when you become a parent, that's what you're doing, and that's what your focus is.
Oh, yeah.
And I did have her so young that by the time she graduated high school, I was able to jump back into music, which is what I did. But I remember she was maybe in kindergarten or something and watching things on the computer and thinking, I just lost my shot. Like it's just not going to happen for me. And life will always surprise you. That's what I kind of like about it. It's just never too late to just do what you do.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I want to talk about the 2024 Blues Revival Competition in Nashville, Tennessee. Sounds like you definitely caught the attention of those in attendance, hey?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was really, really fun. And if you ever find yourself at that venue, Pop Attorneys, you got to get yourself a slice of that chest pie. I'd go to Nashville just for that. I think I blacked out. Yeah, it was like, give me all of this. It was so good.
Oh, we'll talk about the competition a little bit. And what was it like?
That was amazing. And, I won't rat him out, but there is somebody down in Nashville that was giving us the gossip, as we're coming in. He's like, I'm not supposed to say any of this, but guess what is happening? And he's like, oh, and I have this information and this person's going to be there. So as Kenny Wayne Shepherd's walking in and Albert Cummings walked in and Derek St. Holmes, he's just like poking us. Like, I'm not supposed to say this, but look at what's going on. Cause it was that was a secret. That wasn't
wow.
Publicized information. And I went there, and it was actually interesting because my regular players could not go. My guitar player had something else, and it kind of came up last minute. So I went down there. I took a guitar player, Ian Alenbakov, that I use. He's like my backup guitarist if no, I can't make it. And we just picked up the rest of the band down there. Danny Garwood, who's opening for me in a couple shows.
Oh, wow.
Next month, we went to a jam, picked up a drummer. We picked up a bass player. And I'm not kidding you, when we were rehearsing through FaceTime rehearsals, and then an hour before the show, sitting in like a Subaru, like, all right, let's run the tunes, And it was just, as soon as we kicked in, it was just killer. These people we picked up were just so amazing, and it was just such a fun vibe. It was really amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, from the sounds of things, you've also caught the attention of Mike Zito of Gulf Coast Records.
Yes.
And you've signed on with them, and you're even doing some opens for some of his shows and those for the Blood Brothers. How's that for you?
Mike's great. We first connected with him last December. My management team helped, curate that relationship, as you will. And we just hit it off right away. And even Jamie, she's his tour manager and stuff. She just said, this is such a good fit. We just really enjoyed each other and hit it off. All of us did. It was a natural fit. And so there was more opportunities to do things together from there. We did a run in May. And I get a kick out of Mike. And the thing about him is he is a true businessman as much as he is an artist. He's a good mentor and person to have in your corner. Like he's in it to win it. And he's got what it takes under his belt. That's for sure.
I spoke with Kat Riggins recently, and she had much the same to say about him during our interview. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, your debut album, here we go. It's called Granite, and Blues Rock Review gave you a very nice review, an 8 out of 10 overall. Talk about this album a little bit and how it all came together.
So this was, this is actually my first release with Noe Soha, the guitar player that I've been working with for the past, I guess, 2.5 years maybe.
Okay.
And there's something magical about us writing together. I really do have to say. We both had this, I'm trying to explain it, like a wild hair in us. And there's something that I can't bring out that he does. And there's something that I do that he can't do. And when you put it together, it's a pretty good team. And we went into the studios at Voodoo Studios. And the reason why I've chosen Voodoo Studios historically because I did some of my other work with them. Is I heard
Okay.
some really hard rock stuff that they did, and that's what I like. And I wanted that blues, but I also want that, you know. And so that's how that came to pass. And Mike heard it, loved it. He heard Silk Flowers, and he was like, we got to get this rocking right away. Then we're off to the races.
Wow. 7 tracks in total, 4 of which are original, and perhaps the most notable cover on this album is one of the classic Allman Brothers Band, Whipping Post. It's a gutsy move for a musician on their debut album, I have to be honest, but Blues Rock Review's Mo Moore called it his favorite cut on the release. Now, I got to be honest, I have to admit I was initially kind of cringing when I saw that listed on the album because this is one of those songs that literally everybody covers. But wow, girl, your cover of this song is it's not the average cover. You really owned it. How did you determine that this would be included? And did you get any kind of pushback at all from the team when you decided that it had to be there?
No pushback. You know, a lot of ways that we develop these things is through our live shows. And that's where we really shine. And we're getting
Sure.
that's what's piquing everybody's interest. Is the live shows are wild. You're getting people crying. You know what I mean? We're emotional, and then we're just going wild places. And my brain's always going, the whole band, it's like this big creative experience. And every time we do a song, it's a little bit different, which I really, really like. And that's one of the things that just goes over so well. And we're taking into really expansive places. So even when we do it live, like it's a whole experience. And I thought it was a good way to stomp my way into a room.
Yeah, and you did. You really did, because no, I'm serious, because it caught me off guard. I was sitting there thinking, yeah, all right, Whipping Post. All right.
Yeah.
I always give the album a good chance. I'll listen to that thing. I'll bet you I've listened to that album 4 or 5 times through. Okay. And I'll continue to, because every time I listen to it, I get more from it. And I find more to like about it. And it's, generally when I'm listening to albums, I don't like every album that I listen to. Okay. I'm human. But this stuff right here gives me enough of the traditional blues with a nice little sidekick with some rock in there. I really like the soul blended in. I mean, it's got an overall really, really good sound. But another cut that kind of caught me off track, or a little bit off of guard, was The Call. Explain that track to me, would you please?
So that's my father's voice.
Okay.
And the song right after that, The Badlands, is what I wrote for my father.
Okay.
And I haven't really written anything really about his death. He and I were very, very, very close. And he died very unexpectedly. That about 6 months after that voicemail. And Granite, the name of the album is it's for him, because we would joke around and pretend like we were these characters. We were always making skits and stuff, and we had these different characters he would play. And one of the characters he would play was this private detective named Luke Granite, right?
Okay.
And because he felt it was like a real strong, steel, cool name. And it just kind of stuck with me, of course. Now, the voicemail itself, that was actually I've saved all of his voicemails. And my friend Gina had said, why don't you put that on the album? Because I had sent it to her, because it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that I have that. What had happened was I just moved to New York. I had a young daughter, and I was bartending in the kitchen. While I was working on a Saturday night, it caught on fire. And we all lost our jobs. And that was my dad trying to just reassure me, in that moment. And he just said, like, how precious to have something like that from one of your parents.
Yes.
Vocalizing those things. It almost made me emotional after all this time. And I was really grateful. And so I really wanted to set the tone for song to follow of what kind of person he was and what could carry that kind of grief. And that's why it's there. And I also, of course, made it skippable, because nobody's going to be like, let's listen to that 100 times, So, but
I listened to it every time through, and I just lost my mom about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. But I think what was kind of cool about the fact that you included this, and I knew it had to be something important to you to have it on the album, okay, or on the EP. Ronnie Baker Brooks did the same thing with Blues in My DNA with that album. If you listen, there's a little clip of his dad on there, basically charging him to move forward and carry it forward, But it was really, it was an interesting. I had to go back because I was out of the room when it came on, and I came back in and going, I'm hearing a voice, and it was the clip of your father. And I thought, man, how cool is that? How cool is that? So Kelli, talk to me about touring. You said you're on the road right now. What's happening on that front? What's going on?
I'm actually going back home to Arizona for the first time in a year and a half, which I'm so excited for. So we're starting in New Mexico. First show's on Thursday.
Okay.
And then Sedona, Flagstaff, and then doing the Rhythm Room with on the 10th.
Bob Corritor. All right.
New York. Yes.
Yeah.
I love him. And then back to New York for a couple days in New Jersey, and then back down again. But I'll tell you what, I feel more home in a van first of all, I swore I would never own a van, but again, life surprises you. And, the fact that I feel so at home in a van is also interesting. But I do. I feel more at home on the road than I do at home a lot of the time.
Well, do me a favor. When you get to the Rhythm Room, tell Uncle Bob that Irv said hi.
I will.
He knows me. I own everything in his catalog. Big fan of what he does. Of course, his work as a harmonicist, his work as an air personality with what is it? What's the radio station? KJZZ out of Phoenix.
Yes, KJazz. Yeah.
And he does his show every Sunday. He's been doing it for over 41 years, man. And I'm telling you, as somebody who worked in the business as a broadcaster, that's some really good longevity right there. And you can't get enough of it because it's down to earth. And clearly it's the music that he appreciates most is that old school blues. And he doesn't deviate. He stays right there.
Right.
And I've just become a really big fan of his music and his CDs and recording with all those artists. And so please give him my regards if you would. All right.
I will.
All right, Kelli. Most important part of this interview, where can we send people to learn more about you, maybe help them buy some merch, and of course, that hot new album of yours?
So if you want to look me up, I keep the same across everything you look at. The only thing you have to remember is that it's Kelli with an I. A lot of people misspell my name. The Kelli Baker Music. If you look at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it's all the same username. Or kellibaker.com. And then if you want to buy the album, you can go check it out at Gulf Coast Records along with some of their other amazing artists. And that's how you find me. Or come to a show.
Good.
Follow me on bands in town. I don't know.
Well, I'll be keeping an eye out for you because if you make it through the area, I will absolutely come and see you.
Why not?
And make that I'll make that an absolute yes. I will do it. But it's been an honor to have you with me today on Time Signatures today. Keep in touch, and if you have future plans for a tour or future albums down the road, you always have a microphone here. How's that sound?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, Kelli. Well, as we conclude this edition of Time Signatures, please allow me to tell you about the National Women in Blues. This is an organization that supports, edifies, mentors, and, well, they, I'm going to restart that. I'm sorry. I can cut that out.
Yes.
As we conclude this edition of Time Signatures, please allow me to tell you about the National Women in Blues. This is an organization that edifies, mentors, and promotes female blues artists and was created in 2006 after founder and chief cook and bottle washer, that's her title, she came up with it, Michelle Seidman, attended a large, well-known blues festival, and out of the 55 acts on 4 stages, she noted that there were only 4, count them, 4 female artists scheduled to perform. Fast forward nearly 19 years later, and the National Women in Blues are making its mark with their annual Women in Blues showcase in Memphis during the International Blues Challenge. But they also sponsor other showcase events around the country, such as Women in the Blues seminars. Visit nationalwomeninblues.com today and make a donation in any amount to support this worthwhile cause, won't you? And as always, thank you so much for your consideration. And that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my thanks to our guest, Kelli Baker, but also to you. For without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm home.